Okay, roll call.
Mr. Accomando?
Present.
Mrs. Borelli? Mr. Cipollone?
Present.
Mrs. Mahoney? Mr. Quinn?
Here.
Mrs. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Winnie? Mrs. Ottarelli?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Through the chair.
Yeah. Wednesday.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, gotta read all my stuff. Adequate notice of this meeting has been sent to all members of the Board of Education and to the Bergen Record in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices are to be turned off. Okay, first, what do we have, your report first, or the presentations?
I could do my report and then the presentation.
Okay, perfect, yep, so superintendent's report?
Good evening, everyone. First, I would just like to let you know a few things that have been going on. So today, for example, we had the police department come in with the dogs to do a sniff of the middle school and high school. This is a regular practice that all high schools and middle schools sometimes in the state of New Jersey participate in. It went beautifully. The teachers and the students cooperated as we had hoped, and there were no incidents to speak of, so I'm grateful for that. Last week, we had on Tuesday evening a vigil for Brook Costanza, and I think it's very important that I acknowledge the many people involved to help the students who organized the event to get it off the ground. So I'd like to thank Mrs. Coffey and Mr. Iannello, Mrs. Nicole Napolitano, and Mrs. Felderman, Mr. Barberi, Chris Stanton, our SRO officer, Kiara Patron, who is a student organizer, the Board of Education for supporting them, the Buildings and Grounds crew, Mayor White, and the Saddlebrook Town Council for their support, the Recreation Director, Andy Gallo, the Police Department, Fire Department, Ambulance Corps, and the DPW, all who were present that evening to help us, and the Bergen County Officer Sergeant Christopher Sloma, and Kim Bridge, the florist. So for those of you who may have never organized an event like that, you realize just how many people need to come together to help support the students in remembering their classmate. And for those of you who are considering maybe coming out Wednesday night, we have a very special meeting planned. Mr. Kuden and the Choraleers are coming to present and do a holiday sing-along. We are recognizing our outgoing board members and paying special thanks and tribute to our retirees. So hopefully you can make it out on Wednesday. And tonight we have a special presentation, and I'm asking Mr. Iannello to assist me in recognizing our girls varsity soccer team because they were the 2018 NJIC Girls Soccer Tournament champions, and we want to acknowledge them and their coaches this evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks Board of Ed, Mrs. Shanley, for inviting us here tonight to recognize our 2018 girls soccer team. The team finished with a 17-3 record this year, which won the Meadowlands Division with a perfect 13-0 mark. The team also went on to win the second annual NJIC Girls Tournament, and most impressive was their advancement to the NJSIAA State Sectional Semifinal game. The round of this tournament was actually the deepest run of any Saddlebrook girls team has ever made in the tournament. The girls' hard work led to 8 players earning first and second team all-league honors, as well as some state and county recognized players in the bunch. The girls' attitude, hard work, focus, and unity allowed them to develop and progress as a team, and we are very proud of all their accomplishments. I would like to thank our parents, our families, our administrators, teachers, students, and our community for their support throughout the year. Lastly, I would like to congratulate our coaching staff, assistant coach Andy Gallo and head coach Deandra Donato. It is because of their exemplary professionalism and leadership that directed our team to the best Saddlebrook girls team that we've ever had. Your passion and desire to hold each player accountable and the dedication to each individual player and their improvement led to the team's success. The Impact first-year coach, DeAndre Donato, was not only recognized here in Saddlebrook, but DeAndre was unanimously voted on by the NJIC Meadowlands Division as Coach of the Year. Well-deserved, and congratulations to all. I would like to now call up Coach Donato, who will introduce the members of the team, which will come up and be presented by Mrs. Shanley for their award.
Okay, Alexis Adams. Yep. Kylie Artemisio. Alexis Georgievich. Ashley Georgievich. Nicole Kalinowski. Mia Lopez. Madeline Mars. Emily Matos. Anna Memaja. Kayla Simon. Ashley Torbick. Dakota Valverde. And Emma Ween.
Of course he is.
One more thing before we close on this note, we do have 4 girls that weren't able to make it tonight, which I feel that we should be recognized. Sydney Berardo, Tiana Governale, Celine Kiar, and Mia Larson.
Thank you.
That concludes us. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. That's the end of my report.
Okay. So next on the agenda, we have our audit report.
Yes, so we have Mr. Paul Lurch from Lurch, Vincent Higgins to give a review of our 2017-18 annual audit, which has tied me up for the past couple of months, it feels like. I'll help you out, Mr. Lurch.
Good evening, everyone. I'll explain the departure from the norm once we get this handed out. Okay, so while Ray is handing out the two reports, let me just give you a little background as to why you're receiving these copies today and not through the normal process of having bound copies presented ahead of time. So what's different this year is the fact that all the auditing firms in the state of New Jersey are being held up or delayed by the state themselves. There was a new governmental auditing standard that was in effect for our fiscal year that ended June of 2018. The Governmental Auditing Standard Board actually issued this standard 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago, and let the accounting world know that, hey, listen, effective 2018, we're going to have to deal with this pronouncement. Gear yourselves up for this and be prepared to respond to it. We had a similar situation 5 years ago when we implemented what I'll call GASB 68, and that was the pension reporting. That time we were also delayed by the state of New Jersey. But we were able to meet the deadline of December 21st at that point, and we were delivering all the reports and all the data was included. This governmental auditing standard number 75 deals with OPEB. So it's really other than pension retirement, so post-employment benefits, which in layman's terms, it's really the health benefit side. So as we know that in the state of New Jersey, that teachers and those in the PERS public employee system with the required amount of years of service upon retirement will receive pension benefits for life. We know that 5 years ago, we started reporting that data, and I'll talk about that data a little bit tonight for the board members and the public. But this year now, we were required to report the provisions of OPEB, and OPEB is really now the health benefit side. So through the same process, those that had the number of years which were required in service, retired through the system, are entitled to receiving health benefits for the remainder of their life. This GASB now requires all auditing firms in the state of New Jersey to report the activity. And when I mean report the activity, it's a footnote disclosure in the financial statements. It's also running through the district-wide financial statements, the revenue and expense. And that activity has to be reported in your audit report. The Department of Education recently, they've given us 2 transmittals of instruction. One was about a month ago, which had delayed the process, saying that we don't think we're going to get this information in time. We're going to take the audit deadline, which is December 5th by statute, and we're going to push that deadline to December 21 without penalty to any Board of Education for not filing or meeting at December 5th. Well, that was about 4 weeks ago. Just last week, they came out with a new memorandum, and that memorandum indicated that they are experiencing technical difficulties on a complex issue, okay? And they no longer have a definitive deadline for the issuance of your audit report. So what they're telling us is that when that document comes out, and they don't know when, that from that point, there's 4 weeks to finalize your audit report and submit the document to the state, and for the board really to accept it at that point. There is such a thing called an audit sum, which is really a culmination of all the activity financials and fund balance that has to be reported. That now has to be reported by December 21st. We'll make sure that the Board of Education has the data to be able to transmit that information to the state of New Jersey. So the state of New Jersey went and hired an actuarial firm. That actuarial firm did the calculations as to what the total liabilities would be. Then that actuarial calculation was presented from the state of New Jersey to KPMG, another auditing firm, and they have not yet released the numbers. Although, and you should be aware of this, that liability, and I'm sure that's going to be a substantial liability for that outstanding health benefit payment, or accrual, I should say, really not the payment, because it's really based on studies and calculations that everyone who was in the system, what would their life expectancies be, what would the internal rate of returns be, what would the total dollars that we would need today to make sure that that liability was in whole. That's not your responsibility. By statute, the state of New Jersey and all Board of Educations in the state of New Jersey are not required to make that payment. it's the state of New Jersey themselves are required to make that liability and that payment. Because of the accounting pronouncements that are out there, we have to record the activity. It's a like-kind transaction. So we're recording some of the activity in our financial statements as a revenue and expense for the amount that they're making on your behalf for the OPEB. And also, we're now recording the amount that they're making on behalf for the TPAF pension side. That's another pension liability that the Board of Education themselves are not ultimately responsible for. The state of New Jersey is responsible, but they make these payments on behalf of each Board of Education. We get those information or that number through the Division of Pensions. Then what we do is we actually report that information in our financial statements. So we'll have a like-kind transaction for that amount as well. The only piece that you are responsible for is the PERS side. So that's a public employee side on the pension. That amount you get every, probably came out already a couple weeks ago, the amount that you're actually going to have to pay in April from the Division of Pensions on the PERS side. We build that into our budget, you make the payment, exactly what you have to do, you make it. And that number is funded at a much greater level than the TPAF side. And before I get into your audit numbers, I'll just talk a little bit about the pension side. So as I said, what the pension liability really is for all of the employees that were part of the Saddlebrook Board of Education on the teacher side, that total liability based upon the actuarial report said that we need about $85 million to be able to pay that liability. That's what the liability would be today if we had to pay it out. And the state of New Jersey makes payments on your behalf. And this is similar to what I said last year. So they made a payment of $1.8 million, but when you look at the actuarial report of what the full accrual, the full liability, full funding should have been, they should have paid almost $6 million. So again, once again, and we can go through the history here, they're paying at about 31% of what the full funding requirement is on the state side. So as the numbers come out on the OPEB side, the benefit side, we'll report them and I'll let you know what they are. I'm sure they're going to be extremely high as well. And I don't know what the funding percent that they're currently making on that issue. So long story short, I know I'm a little long-winded on this. We're going to talk about your audit results. We'll talk about your fund balance. We've completed the audit fieldwork. It's totally done. We had an exit conference. We completed the financial statements, obviously, so we could report what the budgetary fund balance is. And once those numbers are released, what you will get then is you will get a bound copy of the report. At that point, then you'll actually do a resolution to accept the audit. But from a presentation perspective, now would be the time to ask any questions on what we have. But by all means, when the report is finally issued, if you need me to come back, just let Raymond know and I'll come back and answer any questions. So talking about the audit itself, and that's the two reports which I gave. So we have the AMR, which is the Auditor's Management Report on the administrative findings, financial compliance and performance. That's the spot where we would identify any deficiencies in the report. I'm happy to say that going through the audit process, that nothing rose to the level that we require an audit comment in this particular report. So I think the board should be very proud of the job that Ray's doing and his entire administrative staff up there. So certainly not the norm. Trust me, this is not the norm. You can go out there and Google, New Jersey CAFRAs and pick a town or board that you want to go on. It's on the state's website, all the reports are, and you can get to see some of the activity that's out there. Great job, not easy to do. So moving on from that, let's talk about the equity side of it. So we gave you the AMR. I also gave you the budgetary report. It's Exhibit C1. And that budgetary report is nothing more than taking your operations for your general operating fund, your revenues and your expenditures, comparing it to the budget, the modified budget, comparison to your actual. And I'm going to look at the very last page because that is the culmination of the activity for the year. So you could see under the actual column, that the Saddlebrook Board of Education ended the year with total fund balance on the budgetary side of $1,063,530. But if you note, it's a drop of $733,000 from the year before. Okay. The total equity, as I indicated, of the $1,063,000, what is it comprised of? And I'm going to work from the bottom of this exhibit up. It's a little easier that way. We have an unassigned fund balance of $420,000. As a general rule, when we go through this calculation, this process of determining what that number is, we have various buckets that we fill up, and then this is the last component. This unassigned fund balance is allowed by statute to be approximately 2% of your operating expenditures, okay? And of course, like any other rule, there are some adjustments to it. But for all intents and purposes, that number, that maximum number, can be $736,730. We only have $420,004. So we're short of the maximum that we can retain of $3 million, the amount that we're short is $316,726. You know, if we go back 8-10 years ago, we were able to retain 6%. And then after 1707 came, these numbers got cut back down to 2%. Most Board of Educations are trying to maintain that 2% at a minimum. And then once we get beyond the 2% number that we can retain, because that is your rainy day fund. Remember that. Then you start to fill up some of the other buckets, and some of the other buckets, which any board member that's been here realizes that the biggest item here is the capital reserve side, because that's where the boards are allowed to maintain monies that are set aside for future facility improvements. Now, you do have some monies here, and if you look up a little bit, we have $375,268 in capital reserve. Didn't really change all that much from last year. It was some minor activity in and out. But the capital reserve that's designated is $300,000. So the designation simply means that the Board of Education has earmarked that money already for projects in the current year, the 18-19 year. So when we roll forward into future years, we're only sitting there with a $75,268 balance rolling forward for future needs. That capital reserve money is typically funded through excess revenues and appropriations that didn't materialize during the year. So it's, for lack of a better term, it's really profit. As you generate profit in each one of your calendar years, the board, by its discretion by resolution, can transfer some of that money and put it into capital reserve. But now, looking at where we are, we're sitting at less than the maximum 2%. The first focus here would be for the Board of Education to try to get that 2.5% maximum attained first before you start to go into some of the other buckets. Capital reserve, as I indicated, is important. The other reserve that you have here that hasn't changed from last year is a maintenance reserve of $100,000. $100,000 that you can utilize, the board can utilize through the budget process to maintain the facilities, normal operational maintenance of the facility. So that certainly is an available fund that can be used when you start to develop your 19-20 budget. And that brings us to the very last item, and that's the one above here, above these other ones that we just discussed, is the excess surplus designated. So when I sat here last year and spoke to the board, we were talking about all these various buckets. We met the 2% maximum number, and then we had excess amount over that 2% of $108,338. Well, today I'm here to tell you, obviously, after what I've just discussed with you, that there is no excess surplus for the current year. So in the current year budget that we're dealing with currently right now, 18-19, you've got a revenue line item of $108,000 that's balancing the budget. Okay? Going forward, in 19-20, there is no amount of revenue that you're going to plug in there through the audit sum process that's going to balance the budget. So at square one right now, face value, if everything remained the same, you'd have that $108,000 that you need to make up. If all your appropriations stayed identical and all your revenues stayed identical, you know you're losing the 108. So that's just something that the board's going to have to obviously deal with this budget cycle, which is not going to be an easy budget cycle, which we discussed today with the superintendent as well as the BA. I don't have anything else to report. I mean, I think, again, from an administrative perspective, financial perspective, the board's run very well. Financially, we all know where we are. If you need any assistance during the year, as I indicated to Ray, by all means, give our office a call. I think we just need to monitor this as we go through the year, because I think that having gone through last year where the board had to appropriate surplus because there wasn't enough money sitting in the budget line items, and I know the majority of that's dealing with students that are sent out of district that you don't know of when you're building your budget. And these are tough items. And that's why it's important to try to get that unassigned to that maximum number. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep, and I wish everyone luck and for the new year on the budget cycle at least, and happy holidays, everyone.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, you have anything else?
No, I'm just happy that the audit is done. I can move on with some other items, but I want to just thank my staff and the administrators. We have a great team that makes this successful, and I could have no audit comments, and the report is a great accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Yep, thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay. All right, next we have the agenda items for board discussion, which are attached to our agenda. So if everyone can turn to page, let's see. I'm not going to say this is, I'm not going to go through that. Should I? Page 2, the only thing is the board action items. The only thing we could say is we'll talk about the minutes to the meeting, and that's it. The rest is closed. On page 3, education and curriculum. Everybody on there? E17. Yeah, good, okay. Anybody have any discussion or anything on E17, 1, 2, or E18? No? Okay. Finance, Budget, Facilities Committee, F54 through F59. Any discussion or questions on that? No? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, now policy. Okay. Okay. Well, we have the first reading of these policies, P11321 all the way down to P8860, and then we have the second reading of P236 down to R5850. Yes. So on the second readings, those, if there's no discussion, let's talk about those. Now, they will be moved to the agenda for adoption. Are there any questions on the second reading of those policies on page 4? Okay. On the, good? Okay. So on page 3, some of these policies are now first reading again because we have modified them and revised them to various degrees. So, is there any discussion on those? I asked everyone to please review them.
Through the chair, as the policy chair, I just want to say, we had a special meeting this past week to go through some of these policies, very extensive. I hope the public has done the same, and we're prepared to answer your questions.
Could I also add? Some of these, in particular, resource materials and dress and grooming are being presented as a first reading once again after conversation with the association and the team, and in response to public comment that was presented last month. So there were revisions to those, and we're presenting them as a first reading again.
Okay, anyone on the board have any questions to any of these or comments? No? Okay. All right, the next thing is negotiations, but and then personnel will be enclosed, right? Are we gonna go through any of the ones? No, they're not on there. That's what closed, right? All right, hold on, too many pages here, stuck together. Okay, so, now we're on page 5, right? Should I go through this stuff now, right? Or no?
No, that's for Wednesday.
All right, so where am I going back to? Oh my goodness, it's so confused. This one? Okay, here we go. Page 2 on the caucus agenda.
Just saying to the other committee.
Yes, okay. So are there any other committee reports? Anybody have anything else? Okay. Any correspondence? Oh, no? We're good? Okay, any old business? Nobody? Okay, any new business?
Through the chair, I don't know if any board members have heard this. It is on. I don't know if any board members or Mrs. Shanley has heard this, or even you, Ray, but there's been a lot of issues the past, I want to say, month with the train coming to school in the morning. Sometimes it's there 30, 35 minutes. And I know it's creating a problem with the kids coming in late. And it just, I brought this up at the town meeting. I don't know if it's something that we can work on together, but it's definitely something that needs to be looked into.
Okay.
The train on Mayhill.
Wow, okay, great. Any other new business? Okay, I just want to make a quick statement. I would like to address some social media postings that have recently come to light on Saddlebrook Moms and other areas on Facebook. And I'd like to make a recommendation that parents contact the administration to address their concerns and ask any questions they may have. Questions and concerns brought up on social media cannot be clarified or addressed appropriately in that format. Information discussed on social media is often incorrect, and the school staff who have correct information cannot respond, as is the case with the postings I'm referring to. So, Mrs. Shanley and the administration team, members are glad to respond to inquiries and usually do so very quickly. So I'm asking that recommendation because of whoever's on there knows what I'm talking about. So, with that, can I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm going to read my statement. Residents are requested to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 45 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant to 5 minutes duration. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks the members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments, and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. So if you wish to be heard, please come to the microphone, give me your name, address, and subject matter.
Hi, Jennifer Ween, 400B Saddle River Road. I was just coming as the president of the Music Association, not so much as myself. For at least the last couple of years, the Music Association has had to pay for the vocal director's stipend for the play. And I'm just kind of wondering why. You know, you guys, I see in the agenda on page 5, you pay for Stephen, for our producer, you pay for Randy, the choreographer, you pay for the pianist, but not the vocal coach, which is kind of critical and important. So I'm just kind of wondering why the parents have to absorb that expense and we have to pay that when you're paying all the others. So, because it's a big expense out of our budget every year. He's definitely worth it. He's definitely needed. You can't put the production on without him. But I just feel like that really shouldn't come out of our budget, that it should come from you guys.
Mrs. Ween, could I get back to you on that?
Absolutely.
Because to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know what the budget looks like for the production in
Yeah.
detail. I do
Yeah.
have a copy of it, but I haven't reviewed
It's
it
a
in
big
detail.
budget.
And I don't know in the past what has happened here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to think that a spring musical production could sustain itself.
Yeah.
I don't know what ticket sales have looked like and things like that, so I need to look in it a little more closely.
Okay.
Could you give me the time to do that and get back to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Hi, I'm Lisa Matellas, 86 Bell Avenue. Holiday decorating. So, first I want to apologize because I hate public speaking and I don't want to make this personal, but I did read the new policy. And coming from a town where we had 117 registered different nationalities and 6,000 students in the school, and everybody was able to celebrate together and enjoy each other and learn about everybody's religions. I don't see why this happened now, right before our holiday. I feel like it caused a divide in people in town and a swell. But my concern is with the new policy, there's this one little statement, and I'm asking that you remove it, where you are confining holiday trees to one central location where it cannot be in a hallway, easement, doorway, and it's supposed to be representative of all students in the school. And I'd like to have your opinion where you think that tree would fit in Smith School, where you have the man trap, so you can't put a tree there. It would be literally confined behind closed doors somewhere. So, in fact, what I feel the new policy is doing is actually encroaching and inhibiting, denying and censoring our children. They're not able to express, they're not able to ask questions about different people's religions so that they learn. This is the time when children should be using their imagination, not to mention that our schools right now are so anxiety-ridden. I know there's going to be parents out there that are going to be telling, hey, little Timmy, make sure you don't say Merry Christmas, or you don't say Happy Hanukkah, or make sure you don't say this or say that, because everybody's going to be interpreting things differently. And it's not right. And I just feel like you all have the privilege of being temporary custodians of the most impressionable time of our children's lives. All of you. It's your choice. No matter, you've been voted in, but you guys make the decision. We can make all the noise you want, whether it's on Facebook or here, but at the end of the day, it's your choice, and it's critical to their development to allow them to dream, to allow them to be children, the way your children were children and enjoyed, the way you were once children and enjoyed school, and were able to see the different religions and embrace them, rather than just picking some office or some closet somewhere that this tree is going to be hidden in, and one way or the other, it's going to be eventually deleted from our school system. And I just want to leave you with a quote that I think is perfect for this, from Abraham Lincoln. The philosophy of the schoolroom is, in one generation, will be the philosophy of government in the next. So please think about that, because what you guys are going to impose on these children, the fear of not expressing themselves, of just being censored, that's our future. And that's not where I'd like to see Saddlebrook going. Thank you.
Mike thinks not working. Hi. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard?
Can I ask something through the chair?
Not at, this is public time. I just want to make one comment that this is the draft of the policy in the first reading, just whatever.
And what they have may not be the most current draft.
Oh, okay. And you may not have, well, no, it's from out here is the current draft.
Oh, it was out there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then.
You took the one from here, right?
Okay.
The new one here? Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Michelle Levy, 45 William Street, and this is about holiday decorations as well. I did not read the new policy, I'll be honest with you, and I am part of the Facebook Moms group, and that's why I'm here, because I want to hear from you. I was told that you're allowing holiday trees in the school, holiday trees, which are Christmas trees, but not menorahs and not kinaras. Is that true?
No menorah. Because there's a religious symbol. So the dreidels are allowed. The Kwanzaa's not a religious symbol, it's an economic holiday.
So, do you want me to say? Okay.
Let's let her, I mean, I guess you can.
Yeah, so menorah is considered a religious symbol, and that's why that was not allowed. And what was the second one you asked me? I'm sorry.
The kinara, but...
Menorah is okay because that's not a religious symbol.
Okay, and a menorah is a candle holder. Do you understand that? It's not a religious symbol. If I asked you to put a Star of David on a stage where the holiday tree is, that would be something different. I'm not asking you about lighting candles. It is a light-up holiday decoration. I have one in my window at home, but every night we light the candles. You light the candles, you light the oil, you don't light a plug-in holiday menorah. And I do have a big problem with that. It is not a holiday tree. It is a Christmas tree. There is no such thing as a holiday tree. So you can call it what you want, but that's not what it is.
Okay, if I could just, no, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if I could just, can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay. The definition of whether or not something is considered a religious symbol or a holiday symbol is not something that we made up. It's something that the United States Supreme Court decided. So we're following what the U.S. Supreme Court told us we have to follow. And I'm happy to send you that case if you'd like to see it. If anybody would like to see it, let me know, and I'll send you the case. We just read the case and we followed what it said. That is the case that said, for example, a holiday tree is not considered a religious symbol if it doesn't have religious ornaments on it, if it doesn't have the star on it.
No angels.
And it's the case that gave us the guidance that said, we recommend you have one central location where all of the students can observe the holiday tree, but that it is decorated with bulbs and garlands, and that you don't allow every classroom to have a tree, because that increases the chance that somehow a religious icon will be placed on the tree without people recognizing it or noticing it nearly as quickly as you would if you had one in a central location. That's where we're getting it from. It's not coming from one individual board member or from, any other place. It's from the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm, again, happy to share that with anybody who asks for it. So if you want to let me know when we close to go into executive, just grab me, I'll wait, and I can give you a copy of it.
This town always preaches acceptance and tolerance, and this town right now, that's not what we're teaching our children. That's not what we're doing here, and I'm not okay with it, and I'm not going to be okay with it, and I'm not going to end it here.
Through the chair, can you put that case on our website?
Yeah.
So anyone can read it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, and I did come to meet Ms. Shanley because I did want to get everything straight versus the Facebook post. And one of my questions is, and still remains, what you just said. If a child wanted to express what this holiday meant to them, and it meant a nativity scene, or it meant, maybe going to church with their family, that is their right. So you you would definitely be inhibiting them, and the law does state that the schools are not to endorse that one religion is superior over the others, but nor are you allowed to inhibit them. So how can you take that away from the kids?
So again,
and I understand there's trees, just the menorah, I did my research before I came here too, so because the menorah is used in prayer, you pray while you light the one, that's why it's a religious symbol. Where a dreidel is absolutely acceptable. And I have friends in mostly predominantly Jewish neighborhoods and schools that have Christmas trees all over the place. You want to call them holiday trees? That's fine with me. No star, no crucifix, no nativity. I think that's okay with everybody here, but don't take it away from the kids that they don't get to express themselves as well. And sticking a tree in an office somewhere and saying, yeah, we have a tree, that just doesn't say Christmas or a holiday.
So, but a centrally located tree could be in the student cafe, could be in the auditorium, could be, in this hallway, if you have wide hallways, it could be in a hallway. It just can't be blocking an exit. So we wanted to make sure that people knew that they could have a tree.
Right. But you've reduced it down to no holiday decorations, but
No,
that
nobody
one tree?
said no holiday decorations. You can have lights, you can have garland, you can have anything that's secular, gingerbread men. Part of the problem with the dreidels, part of the snow globes and snowmen and snowflakes, and part of the reason why we address the policy now, not that this is something we wanted to take on now, but because the former policy had such little language. There's another superintendent I read about in the newspaper who's dealing with this in his district because he said no candy canes. Because candy canes turned upside down are a J, and J is for Jesus. I had no idea that candy canes had any sort of religious connotation, but he had a very short policy that said no religious symbols, and in his interpretation, that was a religious symbol. So I had a conversation with the policy committee and I said, can we craft a policy that gives us some guidance so that no one person has to interpret what can be there and what can't be there? Can we craft something? We went to our attorney. She looked up case law. She gave us some guidance, said this is allowed, this isn't allowed, you can do this, you can't do this, encourage this. We would never tell a student that if we said to you, how do you celebrate the holiday, and they wanted to draw a picture of their family in church, we would never say you can't do that. But you can't have a teacher, let's say, promoting one particular religion by saying, I'm doing this in my classroom, and creating a classroom where maybe one child would not feel included.
But if the Supreme Court deemed the tree secular?
If it's prepared a certain way.
Right.
Yes. Right.
So the Supreme Court has deemed the tree secular. Why not include it in the classrooms versus one central? And why not encourage children of all faiths and of all denominations that are in that classroom at that time talk about holiday and how they experience their holiday and sort of, bring our next generation together?
So I just want to clarify one thing really quickly. The policy is for the district. It's for us. It's for the teachers and the administrators. Children are never censored. They could say and do what they want to say and do. They can wish people Merry Christmas in school. It's not the children aren't being censored.
And I don't know where that came from.
I know.
Because I did have a parent call me and ask me if it were true. I was actually grateful that the parent called me and said, my son said he's not allowed to say Merry Christmas or he will be suspended. I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I got the principal on the phone. I don't know where this came from. So I think things went from 0 to 60. But if you have a policy, you don't want to over-codify, but if you under-codify, then it's up to everybody's individual interpretation of what the policy means. So we asked for guidance and said, how can we craft a policy that we could live by? So we revised it, and then we gave it to the administrative team by the policy committee. We passed it around. How does this look? How does this work? Some parents we shared it with some parents. They complained about this or about that. We talked to the administrators. We changed that. So whatever passed around as the first draft is actually not really the first draft anymore. So we really do try to listen. And in promoting, and we want to promote an inclusive environment, and we want all children to feel welcome in a classroom. And we wanted to let the administrators know that a Christmas tree, a holiday tree, is allowed in the school. So,
Well, then I'm going to suggest that maybe as a district, after this holiday season, we could sort of maybe look into some kind of international festival that we
absolutely.
have in the spring months or whatever, wherever works, I don't know, amongst
And some
administration.
schools do that.
Heritage fairs and fourth.
Right, where we could promote, not promote, I don't
Cultural
want to use that word,
awareness?
but
Share.
yeah, have some
Share and
kind of
encourage.
awareness.
I totally
of
agree
all.
with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Completely agree with you.
All right, thank you.
No, and we do not want to inhibit the children to expressing
I'm just
what they
afraid that's
share.
what's going to happen when teachers are going to
No.
be afraid, they're not
No.
going to want to say something, and they're not going to want to get in
No.
trouble for something else, so
It's
it's going to be.
it's the proselytizing of any one religion that's not allowed. The children, we want them to share. We want them to build a sense of community in the classroom.
I don't think they will. I really don't. I think.
Well,
they
one of
just-
the things that we're doing as we move forward is exploring responsive classroom, which is an approach some of my administrators have already started doing some research on, and it's a way to promote a community of learners, both in the classroom and in the school, where everybody comes together. And it's a, I don't want to say it's preventative for cases of HIV, but essentially, when you're treating people more kindly, you do have less incidents. And so it's something that we want to be proactive in doing. And yes, we do want children to come together.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
And thank you for coming to see me.
I forgot about it until you brought it up about saying Merry Christmas in
Yeah.
school. My nephew was reprimanded last week for saying Merry Christmas.
Well, we'll address
I
that.
forgot all about it until you just said that.
We'll address it.
You say that you want everyone to feel welcome and included. How is my daughter supposed to feel welcome and included when she walks into a school that has a Christmas tree, which you just called it a Christmas tree, and then said holiday tree?
Well, 'cause people-
Right, because it's a Christmas tree. That's why you called it a Christmas tree.
Well, I was using both terms on purpose. Some people will still call it a Christmas tree.
Because
no
it
matter
is a
how-
Christmas
no matter how
tree.
you decorate it. I don't disagree.
And so you want my daughter to feel included and welcome when she walks into a school that for her entire existence in this district, there was a menorah in every school that she was in. And now all of a sudden, the holiday tree is okay, but the menorah, it's religious.
Saw that somewhere.
And do a whole display where you have to have at least 3 different religions represented. So we could do a Christmas tree or
Something else.
you could do that. We could change the policy to do that.
Okay.
So that's an option. Do you want me to explain it?
So, Mrs. Levy, we're gonna, where did you go? Oh, no, so, we will, I've taken note of everything that you've said, and we are listening, and we will talk, and we'll see what we can do. I certainly don't want your daughter to feel excluded. When we were following the decision, it specifically spoke to a menorah being a religious symbol while sort of whitewashing the Christmas tree and calling it a holiday tree because Christmas is such a commercial holiday in America. But we have taken note of your comments, and we will discuss. Because this is not for this holiday. You know, the policy obviously needs multiple readings. So we will discuss it again.
Do you want to tell us there's alternatives?
And there are some possible alternatives we can discuss as a policy committee and possibly revise the language, okay?
Hi, Sandra Moreno, 478 Steinway Road. I've been in Saddlebrook for 23 years. My son, who's 20, started at the community school, went throughout the district, graduated 2 years ago. My daughter is here in 8th grade. This has never been an issue. And let me tell you, I feel sorry for the parents who have kids in grammar school because their kids are missing out, and they are going to miss out if you guys continue with this ridiculous policy that why all of a sudden is this changing? My kids made Christmas trees, they made Santa Clauses, they made menorahs, they started, with Kwanzaa. They learned about their friends who are all come from all different religions, backgrounds, They celebrated different holidays. That was all celebrated. And I'm so glad my kids got to experience that, because even to this day, my children have Jewish friends and African American friends and friends who celebrate Kwanzaa and all different friends, because that's how we've taught in our home, and that's what they learned coming up through this district's grammar school. So why are these ridiculous changes now being made? Because you spoke of not including, or, you don't want to not include children. Well, like Mrs. Levy said, her child is being not included. Well, if my kids were still, or the children who celebrate Christmas with a Christmas tree, if they can't, maybe speak about Santa, or they can't make a decoration of Santa or a Christmas tree, isn't that not including them, or not speaking about what's important to them in their house? This world, when I read this stuff on Facebook, yes, like you said, you can't believe everything, and that's why I'm here tonight, because, my daughter's in 8th grade, so it's different. But I just don't understand. I've gone through, like I said, my son is 20. We went through school. We've never had a problem with this policy. Why is this policy coming to the foreground now? It's with the world the way it is, we should teach our kids to include everyone and be friends with everyone and learn about everybody's religion, or what's important to them, or things they may celebrate. Why do we have to kind of hold it against, like, I'm Catholic, my children are Catholic, we celebrate Christmas. I have friends who are Jewish, they celebrate Hanukkah. We should all want our kids to know about all of that. This is ridiculous that we are at this place, and if it's a policy, fine, but why all of a sudden is this coming now? Like I said, I've been in this school district for a long time.
I can't give you specific details because some of it's confidential, but I can tell you that there are some students in district who don't celebrate any holidays like Christmas, who can't because of their religion. Those students who can't come to school because we're having holiday parties or Christmas parties, they're being excluded, and they actually have a right to be here. Their right to be here trumps, under the Supreme Court, trumps our right to have a Christmas tree or a menorah.
That's right.
I'm not going to get into details about it, but that's where this is coming from. There are some concerns, and that led us to have to review where we're at. This didn't come out of the blue. It wasn't the new superintendent coming in.
I went to school with two, I think they were, I don't know, I just remember them during holiday parties having to sit.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
But for us to be going through all of this, that takes a toll on our kids. If they don't celebrate, or they won't let their child come to school, they're, unfortunately, like a minority. It's a smaller number, but we should not take it out on everybody else and all the other children. That's not right either.
Sure.
Okay, so something has to be done in the middle, and not what's happening with the way it is.
What the policy committee wanted to do was start here, open this up to discussion so we could hear from all of you, and then we can discuss alternatives. That where we're at right now is the easiest, simplest way to do it. There are some alternatives that are a little bit more complicated, but I think that for sure I know that the board and the policy committee is willing to talk about those. So we wanted to have it open. That's the whole point of having the first draft policy, so that we could all discuss it. But again, I wanted to stress, this has nothing to do with having certain board members or superintendent. It had to do with some of your population. They have legal rights, and they have brought those to our attention. So
Right,
that's where this comes from.
Right, and we have legal rights also, as you know, and you have to come as a district, you have to come together, and you cannot penalize, because that's what it sounds like you're doing to, like they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't have them. So that is penalizing them. There's no other way around it. That's what you're doing. for this more, and I'm not saying the number that, come to you and say their kids don't celebrate or whatever is not important, but there has to be a way around that, because that's what this district is, and they have to know that coming in. So, it's very anger-inducing. And like I said, I'm very, very glad my kids already went through the grammar school system where they taught them about different holidays, because this is beyond ridiculous, really. It's not right. It's not right. And like you said, you have to come together. We're a district. You can't take away stuff like that. You can't, and expect people not to be angry and,
So can I just say something real quick? I just want to say that nothing was ever taken away. We were just trying to clarify a policy, and what was on Facebook was totally incorrect. Every single thing on there saying the holiday parties are gone, this is gone, it was nonsense. We don't even know where that came from. And that's what spawned us to look at the policy. So we don't know where it all came from, and we don't even know why it happened like that. Someone said, I heard, and then it was 250 people, and no one, 2 people maybe, talked to the superintendent. So that, to me, is what causes everyone to be angry. And I'm a teacher, and I work in a district, and this is now just my personal opinion, if I'm Muslim and I have to sit and have this in my face every day, I think I'm going to be upset. And we have to include every single child, because every parent is a taxpayer in this town. We can't just go to one religion and 2 and 3. What if there's 14 religions?
Why can't we do them all? And teach our kids it's okay to do them all. If it's in their face, Christmas is a big time. Why can't we just do it all?
That's why but you can't do it all. It's almost impossible. I taught every holiday myself, but the point is, there's December holidays, we teach about them. The problem is we can't talk about things that are so religious, or kids who don't have Santa Claus, or don't have it's just not fair to the children.
It's not fair to our kids either, who celebrate Christmas, and they're encouraged to say Happy Holidays. Don't say Merry Christmas.
No, they can say Merry Christmas. No,
they're encouraged to say Happy Holidays.
No, you can say Merry Christmas.
They're encouraged to say Happy Holidays.
We don't censor children. It's not about
I've witnessed it when my kids were still in grammar school. They encouraged them to say Happy Holidays. So that's coming from, it's not a rumor, it's something that I've witnessed firsthand. So what about us? It just seems, it's Christmas. If you're upset about that, then you know what? Unfortunately, then you're living in the wrong place. Because, Happy Hanukkah, I said Happy Hanukkah to my friends. What's the big deal? They know I'm Catholic. Merry Christmas. It seems like it's becoming a big deal, though, because you're saying like the Muslim is in their face, and it's not like we're doing it on purpose. It's a holiday. We're celebrating. They're learning. If they have a holiday, bring it on, and we'll hopefully teach our kids about that also. That's all inclusive, and that's what should be being done.
These are all great points, and they're part of what the board.
Okay.
Can I just say something to Sandra's point? Sandra, to your point, okay? I'm the policy chair, and there are a few people in here that will tell you, I fought tooth and nail, because I'm not happy about this either, but it is the law. Now, do we not go with the law and risk somebody suing us? Or do we go with the law? You tell us.
Well, then can we, as Catholics who want to celebrate Christmas, can we sue you too if you take it away?
Okay, that's it. We can't. I think there was someone who else wanted to speak. Thank you.
We need to go to Washington.
Good evening. Kevin Herget, 147 Oxford Avenue. I'd first like to say that, not to harp on it, but I think it's ridiculous to call it a holiday tree. It's a Christmas tree. There's nothing wrong with saying Christmas tree. Secondly, it was mentioned that lights and garland are allowed in the classroom. However, how would they be put up if the teachers are not allowed to? How would they be put up then? How, if they're allowing them in a classroom?
$3M hooks. $3M.
And not to start any arguments here, but I share pretty much the same sentiments from the lady who was just speaking. it goes both ways, okay? Well, the people have rights too. It's not one side or the other, okay? So as Christians and Catholics have rights as well. And my daughter, she says Merry Christmas and she celebrates Christmas, and I don't want her to have, to be upset about this or anything else like that. So I just think that it goes both ways, and people have to understand that as well. So, thank you. Okay. Kevin Herget, H-E-R, Herget. Thank you.
Good evening, Ian Levy, 45 William Street, also about the holiday decorations. If you're going to put up a Christmas tree, you need to represent all religions, Judaism and the Kenora and all the other religions that we do have in town. I hope you do make the right decision and represent everybody. If not, 7 will be on my side, and I will contact some local media. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Okay. I gotta read. Oh, one more? Okay, go ahead.
Sarah Milnicki, 102 Claremont. I actually have a question about something else, but I would like to see the small trees staying in the classrooms. Makes the kids happy. They get all the little ones, they get really excited. I do just have a question. You're paying Bergen Pediatric Center for OT services for the month of December, $11,000. Is there an OT out, or it's your E17 or E number 2? It's on page 3, top of page 3.
Yes, there currently is a staff member who resigns. We're looking to replace that person.
Okay. So
This is temporary.
Okay. And then, can I ask if there's an update on the teacher's contract? Are you allowed to? Okay. Okay. Are you still in negotiations? Can you say that much, or? Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Until Wednesday.
Until Wednesday. Sounds like a TV show. We'll tell you Wednesday. Cliffhanger. All right. Thank you.
Freezing. Sorry, I'm freezing. Okay, anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Okay. Can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
Before we go into close, through the chair, I'd like to say something on this subject of the holiday decorating. As everyone in this room has read on Facebook, okay, come to a meeting, we will respect every and anything that you have to say. But to trash someone on Facebook the way it was done, I think was totally ridiculous. It was unfounded, it was unwarranted, it was uncalled for. And should Mrs. Shanley choose to leave this district, because I don't want to hear anybody come to the Board of Ed and trash us, look in the mirror, because those will be the reasons why. And I'm sorry I had to say that.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to go into closed session to discuss personnel, HIB investigations, and matters covered by the attorney-client privilege per the Open Public Meeting Act. The subject matter discussed may be disclosed to the public if and when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Action will not be taken when the board reconvenes in open session. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you.